On entering Mullingar town from all directions, it's hard to escape the most dominant feature of the skyline, that is the twin towers of the Cathedral of Christ the King. Initially, there had been a smaller cathedral on the site throughout the 19th and early 20th century, but this was evidently upgraded.
When Matthew Gaffney became Bishop of the Diocese in 1898, he decided that the diocese needed a larger and more artistic cathedral. In 1903, Bishop John Lennon, who was a native of Kinnegad, was newly appointed as the Archbishop of St. Louis in the United States. He preached in the cathedral looking for funds, and £15,000 was subscribed on that occasion. But due to the political atmosphere in the country, we had the War of Independence, the Civil War, and then the Economic War, all followed in rapid succession, including the Wall Street crash, no doubt. The economic climate was not right for the building of such a large project. And it wasn't until Bishop Thomas Mulvaney became Bishop of the Diocese in 1929 that the project was restarted. He approached Ralph Byrne, the architect with the firm of W.H. Byrne and Sons in Dublin, asked him to design a new cathedral, which was done, and work began on that. On the 6th of August in 1933, the cornerstone was laid. Some work had been done beforehand, of course, and 3 years later, the cathedral was opened on the 3rd of September 1936. It was a complicated project for a number of reasons, not least because the old cathedral was still on the site and the new cathedral was built on part of the old cathedral. And the emphasis was to keep as long as possible the old cathedral open while the building of the new cathedral went ahead. And the consecration ceremony is the most interesting one because a cathedral was never considered to be consecrated or couldn't be consecrated until it was fully paid off. And so the amazing thing was that the total sum of almost £200,000, which was an incredible sum for the period in the heart of the economic war, that the people from all over the diocese contributed to it, but especially the people of Mullingar, that sum was raised and was put together and was fully paid off by the time of its consecration in September 1939. And the consecration ceremony itself is associated with a different event because it actually took place on the same day that the Second World War outbreak happened. In fact, they say that the procession for the consecration ceremony occurred just as Neville Chamberlain was declaring war on Germany. Walking towards the cathedral, the other thing that strikes you apart from the cathedral building is the beautiful building towards the back on the right hand side. This is Cathedral House. The most striking feature on the front of the building is the tympanum over the main entrance. It represents Our Lady with cherubim bearing as an offering to her Son, Christ the King, a model of the old Cathedral of the Immaculate Conception. On her left are the figures of St. Peter and St. Patrick, and on the right are the figures of Pope Pius XI, at whose request the cathedral was dedicated to Christ the King, in fact the first cathedral in the world to be so dedicated. Thomas Mulvaney, the Bishop of Meath at the time, and the Primate of all Ireland, the Archbishop of Armagh, Joseph Cardinal MacRory. And a beautiful stained glass window, in fact the only stained glass window in the cathedral, it depicts the baptism of Christ by John the Baptist in the River Jordan. Entering through the main doors, we are greeted with the wonderful sight of the nave of the cathedral. The cathedral is Basilican in form, based on the Basilican style which we find in the great cathedrals in Rome. And your eye is taken directly to the sanctuary, and in particular to the mosaic of the Ascension in the apse and to the high altar underneath it. The two finest works of art in the cathedral are contained in the chapels of St. Patrick and St. Anne. These are mosaic works done by Boris Anrep. These mosaics were commissioned by Bishop Dalton and Bishop Kyne. The one of St. Anne is interesting because the face of St. Anne is said to represent or be based on the head of Boris Anrep's lover, who was the famous Russian poetess Anna Akhmatova. The mosaic of St. Patrick depicts the lighting of the Paschal fire in Slane by St. Patrick, which brings the cathedral back to the origins of our religious heritage in the Diocese of Meath, which is thereby very appropriate. At the back of the cathedral on the second floor there is a museum. It contains all the baptismal, marriage and death registers which go back as far as 1737. Another interesting item that's there is the ring, or a ring, that was worn by Marie Antoinette of France. Marie Antoinette is said to have given this ring to her chaplain, the Abbé Edgeworth, who was from Longford. He gave it to his friend Patrick Plunkett. Patrick Plunkett subsequently became the Bishop of Meath and brought the ring home to Ireland with him, and it's there to be seen in the Cathedral Museum. It also contains a large number of chalices, penal crosses and other items that are of interest to people who want to study the religious heritage of the church. In the grounds on the right hand side of the cathedral are the graves of most of the more recent bishops of Meath, the 19th and 20th century bishops. And over on the right hand side in the lawn directly beside you is a very interesting drawback to the older history of religious life in Mullingar, because buried in the lawn are a number of Augustinian monks who were found, their bones were found during excavations near the new Buckley supermarket at the eastern end of the town. And when the excavations were finished, a number of bones were returned to the cathedral grounds to be buried there, and you can see them there today.